Background music.
Okay, going live.
Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back to Age of Awæcnian, Soulful Stories Unveiled. And I am your host, Marie, and this is the beautiful Flea. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome.
So excited to have you here. And we love sharing stories, whether it's our own, delving deep into just the parts of our journeys that, either light us up or remind us of like the transformation that we have dealt with from our past, noticing, some hardships, trauma that we've been able to recognize and witness and see as a gift and just speak into those parts. And we also love having amazing guests on to join us. And today we have the wonderful Michelle Parad, who I met through another beautiful summit space. And she is such a beautiful energy. And we're really excited to dive deeper into her journey and her path in this awakening experience. And we are in the age of Aquarius, and it's no I suppose surprise that we decided to play with Age of Awæcnian as well, because what does it mean again, Flea, to Awæcnian? What does it mean for those listeners that are joining in with us?
Yes, so Awæcnian is actually the original Latin spelling for an awakening. So an awakening is where we come into the realization that we may not actually be following our true version of ourselves. It's an awareness, a consciousness of who we are deep at our core. And this is why we've brought it into an academy where we can start to find those parts of ourselves.
Oh, I love that. And in this academy, we work with leaders from around the world, facilitators, coaches, mentors, entrepreneurs, game changers, paradigm shifters, and also a vision to work with community, both local and global, to shift paradigms of how we be in the world. And I know Flea and I, we have a background in education, really love also working with teens, children, our youth, and our families. So another amazing woman who is doing that in her field is beautiful Michelle. And Michelle is supporting entrepreneurs and coaches with mindset, training, and enlightened marketing strategies. And I love that piece of that enlightened, aligned, soulful work to help us bring visibility, to bring creativity into these business spaces where people get to feel our energy. And so there's no wonder that her catchphrase is like, sell your brilliance, that brilliance and the light within, and being able to bring that out in really creative ways. So welcome, Michelle. It's so wonderful to have you here, and would love for you to say hello to our audience and just share a little bit more about your essence and who you are.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my goodness, it's such a pleasure to be here. And I just wanted to reflect back on awakening because for me, definitely the definition of that has to do with understanding that maybe you're not in alignment with your true purpose, or suddenly feeling out of place, suddenly feeling like things are not where you should be. And there's a sudden understanding of that and enlightenment of that. But I think there's a deeper version of that, which is that we are realizing that the systems around us are broken. And the way that our schools are operating, the way we're educated, the way that society thinks, and the way that we oftentimes give our expertise away to other people who maybe are doctors or professionals in one way or the other, can all of a sudden we can really get to this point where we realize not everything that we've been told is really the truth. And so when you start on that discovery path of, okay, what is the truth actually, and why is there this feeling inside of me that there's something wrong with my reality, or there's something unjust about what's going on? And not everyone, I think, gets to that place. I came from a more corporate startup-y background, and was acutely aware that everyone around me was operating in a very robotic way, in a very drone-like way, and just sort of going to work, coming back, um, repeating the same day, like a Groundhog's Day all over again. And I felt deeply sad, not only for myself, but kind of for everybody around me. That it felt like nobody was necessarily free to be themselves, to really use their talents to the best of their abilities. Yes, there are a few. I would say a small percentage of people who are really doing what they feel aligned with. But I just feel that there's so many more people that can benefit from having the right guidance and the right understanding that it's possible. It's possible to create your own job. It's possible to align with the right organizations that are also, have the same values that you do, and and having that mindset of opportunity, of visioning and understanding that those things are in the universe, in the realm of what you could possibly do. And I think your summit also, I'm sure, that's coming up in April, is a great example of many individuals who have gone down that path, and carved something out for themselves. And we need more and more of these people doing the same, and having the courage to do the same. And so, yeah, my journey started when I had my Saturn return. And prior to that, I was very left brain and analytical, and very much followed the rules of everything. Went to the great schools, got the grades, thought that that would help me in my life, and found that that wasn't necessarily, yeah, the checkbox. Found difficulties nonetheless, right? It wasn't necessarily a surefire way to success or happiness. And so I went to an astrologer, and he said to me, "Oh, in your 10th house, you'll be a healer, facilitator, and educator." And I was like, "What's a healer?" I don't even know what you're talking about. So, many moons later, I did have a healing experience that completely transformed me. And of course, I was very, very curious as to what this whole world is about. How can you heal someone without touching them or giving them a pill of some sort? And that got me on a very curious path. I started out, actually jumped right in the deep end of a mystery school, and they were talking about all kinds of things that I was like, "This is strange," but there was something in me that just had this thirst for knowledge. And even if it sounded weird to me at that moment, there was something in me that was like, I'm going to stick with this. And I did this course for almost a year. I'm going to stick with it and see what happens. And sure enough, at the end, I had yet another type of awakening moment, where I actually had a visceral experience of visceral spiritual experience of God, and really actually understood that it was real. It wasn't just theory. It wasn't just, something that I couldn't see or feel, but it was truly, truly amazing. And so that put me on the path of just self-transformation, and I could see
Mm.
how that changed, little things changed around me in my day-to-day life. The more I did subconscious work on myself, the more I worked on my energy. And that also released and gave me a lot of room, so that instead of focusing on, the anger or resentment that I felt towards people, I could then
Mm.
focus more on my goals and what I envisioned for myself, and what I could create, and the amazing, magical friendships and journeys that I could take. So that ended up encompassing more of my thoughts,
Mm.
and then those came into reality. And so, little by little, I was just seeing things transform around me and how powerful I could really truly be. And
Mm.
that turned into me starting to work with other people, like just my friends and others, on everything from diseases to soulmates. And I was really doing
Mm.
it out of pleasure, so much pleasure, because I was like, I'm getting so much out of this. I want to share it.
Wow.
But then I realized, somehow, being a healer in the way that it was, that a lot of healers are sort of packaging themselves,
Mm.
wasn't really a sustainable business model. So that was also the
Mm.
realization. It was like, well, I really want to share these new gifts that I have, these new intuitive abilities that I acquired. But I realized, you know, frankly, healers are not charging enough money
Mm.
for their gifts, and I don't
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
society as a whole is valuing healers the way that they're valuing doctors, or they're valuing other types
Mm.
of
Yeah.
professions. And we are, as a collective of healers, are also precipitating that. And because, if you're want to be consistent with what other people are charging and all that, so
Mm.
if somebody's charging, I don't know, $50 and you're charging 3,000, like, there can be a disparity, right? So it got me on a journey of how can I create something beautiful that I find is valuable, that values my time,
Mm.
that's also using all of my skill sets, and it's in a business model where I can thrive, right? And
Oh, wow.
that then got me into another pivot where I decided, well, okay, how can I really utilize all my business skill sets that I
Mm.
acquired, that I also, truly love and, deeply understand, and how can I mix that in with the healing work. So I was trying to, utilize all of me, right, when I come into a
Mm.
container, and also express and communicate that value to people so they can understand truly what they're going to receive at the end of that,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that they're going to get. And so
Wow.
that got me on a journey of crafting and creating my own offer and what that
Mm.
looks like. And many more pivots are to come from there. It's uh,
Yes, all the pivots.
first part for me was really crafting a system, a process to take people through, from an idea, like a hint of a purpose, or even if they're already down the line of several years of entrepreneurship. Is like, how can we up level,
Mm.
their way of thinking about themselves, and shine a light on all the talents and brilliance and skill sets and ability
Mm.
that sometimes actually hasn't even incarnated yet for them, but to
Yeah.
actually pull that through for them, and
Mm.
to have them really understand on a more deep level who they are. And when those come in, more and more of those come in, then there's something new and even more beautiful that can come through that. And of course, I went through my own journey of it. So
Yeah. I
as I'm
love that.
navigating it, I'm helping others. And so that's, my
And
ultimate goal. is that we are all to thrive
Yeah,
from being ourselves, from being our
I
authentic.
agree, Michelle. And there was that thriving piece, but then what you just said about as you're going through it, then being able to action that with the people around you, I think is really powerful. You know, I
Mm,
think there's this mindset that they say you have to have experienced it to then be able to teach it, but
Mm,
there's also magic also in that moment of now that's really vulnerable and raw and really relatable,
mm,
that I
mm,
think is also really powerful and underestimated in this journey. But there were so many amazing pieces that I know it's really hard to, you know, condense like a life story of awakening into a small time frame. But there were so many pieces
mm.
just in your journey that I'm like, wow, I really want to dive deeper into a few things. What were some things, Flea, that you were like, oh my gosh, I want to find out more about this moment because you're such an
I
epic,
love the
amazing
levels.
person.
mm,
It
Yeah.
was like the levels. It's like coming in and seeing that. And I guess the truth card that we pulled earlier was the one that popped out for me then. It's like entrusting that truth in
mm,
those levels. Like what was the deciding factor to then make you go, okay, now I need something else? Or now I, because for people at home that are just starting this journey,
mhm,
and that awareness generally is just, I need something more. I want something more. There's something inside of me that we really can't explain. Well, we
mhm.
can, but it takes a lot of deeper
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah.
How would you say you navigated those situations when they arose, and to trust
Mm,
in the truth of that inner
Mm,
knowing?
mm. Well, I think the universe works in a way where it makes it really painful if you don't.
Mm,
So,
mm,
you get to a place where this is just really painful. Like if I actually don't do something about it,
mm,
I don't know if I might die, but like, it's just very, very uncomfortable here. And
yeah.
so I do think that the universe has a way of pushing you. And once you start
mm,
to notice certain things about the distortions and the patterns that you're
mm,
creating inside your reality, it's like there's no way you can stay in it. It's like once the light has shined on it, um, you have to make the move. And the times when I resisted, even more so, because you
mm,
can be very attached, very comfortable. So I was very attached to the first website I created because it just was so beautiful. I
Mm,
spent so much money on it. And I was like,
mm,
but I invested so much of my heart into it. How can I let this go? And
mm,
it's difficult. It's a process. It's a knowing that it's a little bit of a mourning process and then a
yeah.
rebirth process, and to
Yeah.
know that that is really part of the evolution, and we
Mm,
have to
mm,
we have to let go of things to step up. And I wouldn't be here had I not created that first website. I mean, I know it's all part of that journey. Like every step of the way,
mm,
compounds the next part. I couldn't have created what I created now without all the experience that I had.
mm,
So you just have to see it as that, as opposed to being attached to any one
mm,
thing that you create. And so I'm still learning that too, because it's like, more pivots are coming in my way. So I'm definitely in the process of embodying that, so that
mm,
other people too, and same goes with, developing different marketing strategies for your business. It's
mm.
like you've got to test and try different things. And again, even if you've invested a lot in this one thing, if you're seeing the results are not there, you've got to at some point come to the
mm,
realization, like, okay, there's something here that I need to tweak, change, or scrap altogether, right?
mm,
You don't want to go down the painful route of we're just going to keep doing this, and especially we're going to keep doing this because everybody else is in this
Yeah.
industry. is doing this.
That suffering, hey.
It's more suffering, yeah. And I find that, when you have found that correct alignment, then then the selling and marketing piece becomes much more effortless, because you just have to focus on that one or two things that are really going to move the needle for you and
Yeah,
your business, rather than, well, I think what we all seem to aspire to be everywhere, in every place, and that's possible once you get to a certain level. Yes, it's possible when you have a team to support you, but along the journey, in the growth phase, you've got to make decisions, and one decision
yeah.
is going to have a consequence for what you're not going to end up doing
Mm,
as a result of that decision.
yeah.
So there's all these
And that
intricate complications that come into,
definitely.
even once you've even figured out what you're doing. It's like, now how do I get
That's
it out
it.
there? So
Yeah, and those consequences that you were saying, it's like, what is this actually costing me? Is it my health? Is it, my well-being? Is it my relationships? Is it my time? And when you can sit with that, it's like there's actually a deeper cost in the suffering and being stuck in that versus then taking those either baby steps or that leap of faith. And it's been beautiful to just hear your story and the leaps of faith and like the curiosity. And Flea and I talk about like being like Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole and just
mhm.
leading with that curiosity. And
Mm,
I want to go back to something you said earlier about these awakening experiences that you had when you were curious to learn and find more and sit with it, and allowing your body and your mind and your spirit to have that spaciousness, to have that physiological response, to feel it
mhm,
at a cellular level. I know for
mm,
me, a lot of it started in a lot of women's work, women's circles, breath work to get into the body, into the subconscious. And I remember having like really grounding, tingling experiences where it was like energy grounding me into the earth. Other times, heart opening experiences, and other times, just sitting with my own energy and having just these visualizations and like this overwhelm of light and love that just
mm,
um, my whole body was like in this vibration and tears of just love and that feeling. It's something you can't explain to other people unless you experience it. And there are many ways that you can experience these physiological enlightenment moments. So
mm.
how did you know for you, we talk about understanding, and Flea, you mentioned like going back in as well. And we love the term inner standing that some friends of ours are starting to, what's that one say?
That's
What was that one?
intuition.
Your
Intuition.
The
intuition,
intuition.
that inner
Mm.
standing, your
Mm,
intuition. Like, how did you know that you were like, I actually know that was real for me, and I know that I have these gifts, and I know like
mm,
that this is what I need to do.
yeah, such a good question.
Mm.
Um, well, I feel like there's compartments in this question, and I think that intuition is a lot of practice, for sure. I've had a lot of training, so I know that the more you work on your subconscious and the more clear your channel is, the more your thought process is also clear, and the more connected you are to, and I know this is like very high level, but the more connected you are to your communication with the higher realms. And so for each person, that's truly different. Like you said, for you it was like tingling sensations, and so for me, same. I have auditory and visual and feelings that I get, and the more sessions that I did with people where I, you know, basically just told them what I was feeling and sensing and knowing in some way, and the more feedback I got from them, oh yes, that is that, wow, like I can't believe you just told me that. That's like spot on, right? So the more feedback I got like that, the more I knew to trust the information that was coming through to me. So it is a lot of practice, like practicing on yourself, practicing on other people. And yeah, over time you have your own communication style, I guess is what I would call it, and you can navigate in that way. But I have to say that there were times, like in the early stages of my business, where I misjudged my intuition because I thought my intuition was like, you know how you're trying to date someone and you're like, oh my God, I have all these chemicals. Like, wow, like this person
Mm.
was just like freaking amazing. And that's how I approached mentors. Like I had this feeling of like, oh wow, they're gonna help me like transform my life. And then I stepped into their container, and I'm not saying everyone's is like this, but I've had experiences where it was like these very high vibrational people that not necessarily were teaching everything in the highest form, in the highest light. And
Mm.
so I had to kind of go back and understand my intuition better, because for me now, I'm like, okay, it's not this explosion necessarily. Like, I think it can sometimes be this quiet nudge, like this quiet yes. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be,
Mm.
oh my God, I'm so in love with this thing. Because sometimes that's actually like the devil being like, oh, I'm going to test you on this situation. And are you going to take the bait?
Mm.
And so it is it's some experience over time. So now I give myself some time. And again, this is my human design. So not everyone is wired differently, but I give myself like 24 to 48 hours so that I see like, did this
Mm.
high like come down, and did my brain like adapt to what is really happening in this scenario. So I know that sometimes
Mm.
you gotta wait to for things to settle in and for you to make that decision making process. um, and so I know people are like, "Oh, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no." But I sometimes feel like if it's a hell yes, then maybe still consider consider the situation more.
Mm.
So yeah, and I think especially when in these days, I just feel like there's a lot of dark marketing happening where people are really playing into your insecurities, um,
Mm.
and they know what you're, you know, a lot of people that have studied the psychology of sales, they know exactly how to hook
Mhm.
you, they know the words to use, they've done their SEO research, they know how to like reel you in, and it's like as if you're talking to them and all of this.
Mm.
But like, you know, ask the questions. Is there, are they really going to give you the experience that you're hoping for and wanting? And
Mm.
so, you know, always dig deeper when you're trying to make those decisions. So I went down one rabbit hole, but I'm
Mhm.
sure I can go in so many directions with this. Um, but
It's so crazy.
each individual really has
Mm.
to um, think about their own ways of tapping in, and the best start is to
Mm.
start asking questions, start asking your higher self questions, and then be like, can I get this response, you know, in a certain way? And then just watch what happens around you and start to observe. I think that's the best
Mm.
to start in, to just play and get a sense of, oh, okay, maybe I'm getting this number or whatever as a confirmation for what I was asking for. And then you get that, you know, these are the signs and symbols that work for me. And then you can go from
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
love that,
hopefully,
and to build. Yeah, to build on that, I would also say to one question, I'm a big questioner, so everything's like, why? Why am I being shown this? Why am I being directed in this way? And like really diving into the nitty gritty of, well, like, what could be the benefits and
Mhm.
what could be the consequences of that. And that, I guess, level of understanding is that first step at really honing into your intuition. I also had an experience
Mm.
where I was sharing readings. They weren't paid or anything like that, but I was sharing readings online and using my crystal pendulum. And I was so excited and I thought that I was fully being guided by it. And then I was thrown by the fact that I asked a question for myself that was wrong. And it was like a dead wrong. It's like, oh, hang on a sec. Have I just been giving all of these wrong answers? And
Mhm.
it then made me stop and go, like, am I really trusting myself? And am I really listening to that inner voice that's showing me, or am I allowing my eagerness to provide the right answer to dictate,
Mm.
the energy that is coming out? And it scared me to the point that I completely went offline, and I've had people say, "What happened? You were great. You were fantastic." And I had to go, "No, I'm sorry. I had some bad energy that just attached itself to
Mm.
me, and I had to take that time to fully
Mhm.
understand what it was that I was delivering and why."
Oh, wow,
And I
yeah.
think that that's really important with our intuition, is to understand that it's our inner voice, which
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily connect with other
Mhm.
people's inner voice, and that
Mhm.
is that version of truth that is
Yeah.
spoken. A lot of people are like, "Oh, but it's my truth, so therefore it is true." It is true for them, and that
Mhm.
is very right, but we still need to understand that it's our inner voice that we need to listen to. And I think that
Mhm.
that was my message with that crystal is, are you actually listening to your inner voice, or are you just taking these tools, tips and methods and using them to provide what it
Mhm.
is that you're seeking? And that deeper inner questioning
Mm.
was something that really helped to hone in, well, how can I use this authentically and make
Mhm.
sure I'm not going down those routes of
Yeah.
inappropriate marketing that sucks people in, because I am an authentic healer. I like to dive into the authenticity of that, and the marketing practices that we're taught to push out into the world to get sales or to get clients actually doesn't align with the authentic versions of self. It's like,
Mhm.
how can we
Mm.
say, look, this is me. I will test you. I will try you. I will push all of your boundaries and probably trigger you beyond compare. But
Mhm.
I am honest and I am real and I am here to support you as long as that is what you're seeking.
Mhm.
And like, there is no marketing strategy for that except to be open and honest and real and share online like we do.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so many good points in there. And just back to what you were saying at the beginning, so important to clean your energy because you really, those dark energy, whatever, interferences from other people, can in some ways, put a little bit of a fog on, okay, where is this
Mm.
coming from? Is this from me, from somewhere else? So, yeah, such a good point. I try to always connect with the energy of the creator. That's what I'm always like, okay, I need to go straight to the source energy before I call
Mm.
anything else, like an angel or any other being, right? Because we really want it to come from the highest truth. And so yeah, that's such a good point.
Mm.
Again, comes with just some experience around it and some trial and error, right? And so yeah, and I think sometimes you probably know if something feels like it's not the highest truth, like this is maybe one
Mm,
step lower as far as what the interpretation of the information could
mm,
be, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, how can we go one layer higher as far as what
mm,
the honest, yeah,
Mm.
perception of this is?
So,
So,
Michelle, you mentioned cleaning your energy. And I know we know this, but I'd love for
mm,
each of us to share like one, I suppose anyone that's listening in that's like, oh, how do I do that?
yeah.
For me, I just love grounding into the earth, my bare feet, and
Mhm.
then I just breathing down into the earth, 3 deep breaths, and breathing back up again. And also imagining like this beautiful light before I leave, my home, or if I'm driving, just imagining that protective energy around me. What's
Mhm.
something that you like to do, Flea and Michelle? Just one little tidbit. If anyone's like, how do I do that? I mean, that's my little tidbit. Flea, what's something that you do?
My favorite is actually my late night shower. So when I go for a shower, which is usually right before bed, I'm a stickler for, I love to get into bed clean. It's just one of those things that helps with the sleep and the dream state. But it's the ritual that goes through. So, wash like normal, nice warm shower, comfortable, but always making sure that the last 1 minute at least is cold water. And
Mhm.
as you're using the cold water, calling it down to cleanse away any negative energy, any ties, any attachments, any um, deep, dark feelings of in wholeness, any of that, and just allow it to wash down the drain. And
Mhm.
that helps for a lot of different reasons. It helps with our hormones and creating a resilient level of peace. So it brings us back into our body state. It connects us to our breath. The water is nourishing and cleansing, and it is a life force that is straight from source, creator. So that energy there is coming through in its wholeness, and it's just nourishing and calming. And
Mm.
what I find about a lot of people say, "Oh, the cold though, I can't, it's freezing." Once you've had that hot shower and the room is already warm, that 30 seconds to 1 minute in the cold water, by the time you turn that water off, your body is already regulated and at the perfect temperature for you to feel calm without a towel. And
Mm.
for anyone that hasn't tried this, I implore you, give it a go because your state of sleep quality is so much better. And it's just that
Mm.
little lymphatic massage as well. So just, as you're rinsing it down,
Mm,
you're massaging your body, that allows any of those toxins that are stored within to actually release as well. You may
Mm.
find
I
you
love
smell a
that.
bit funny the next morning. That's normal too.
Yeah, wow. And
Beautiful.
Michelle, what do you love doing? What's one beautiful strategy that you love to just cleanse your energy?
Yeah, I have several, but I do really love using the energy of a rose because the rose is the highest vibrational being, if you want to say. And basically, and I learned this from a clairvoyant school, but you put basically a person inside the rose, and then you explode it. And you're not exploding the person, you're just exploding their energy. Like if you've been around, some people and maybe you've even worked with them or whatever it is, and you don't want necessarily their thoughts to be in your space, so you blow it up into a beautiful gold light, and you just see that evaporate, and you just one at a time, you do one and then the next one and the next one. And like for me, this feels like an instantaneous
Mm,
cleanse. So, but
Mm,
I think Felicia, what you're talking about has you can play around with all the elements. Like you're talking about water, right? You can cleanse yourself with think about the element of air. Like if you have an air purifier or something that can, or if you have a
mm,
spray of some sort, and I guess that's water and air, but um, yeah, play around with or like fire, right? You can sage, you can light
mm,
something and set the intention of clearing your space.
mm,
So yeah, playing around with the different, I think, elements is also
mm,
really helpful
mm.
for
yeah.
cleansing.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
love that.
Mm,
And I know we love talking about the elements, and you were mentioning signs and symbols before. So I know, like you said, everyone's energy is different, and my energy in my human design as well is really coming from that felt space. So being in nature and grounding my energy has worked really beautifully for me because in such a busy go 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 society, you know, I need to feel into my feet. And I've been
Mm,
lucky, like even in the classrooms I've been in, being in a drama classroom, most of my career has been shoes off on the ground, playing with the kids. And that's
Mm.
something that has really anchored my energy into, the work that I do in the play. And I love that piece about, the elements and really listening in to what nature, what Mother Earth is telling
Mm.
us.
Mhm.
And, you mentioned numbers before. I know Flea and I also see lots of numbers that pop up, but I also find animals that come by, whether it's birds or lizards or insects.
Mhm.
We had a little grasshopper jumping on my daughter and I, because they can take big leaps. And it's like, all right, there's another leap coming somewhere. Get ready to move.
Mhm.
That was kind of the wisdom that was coming through that little insect there.
Mm.
And if we're looking for it and you go deeper with curiosity, like you both have been saying,
Yeah.
it's amazing to see what messages, what synchronicities come through, and you feel it in your body. You're like, oh, that was meant for
Mhm.
me.
Mm.
Or you could say that meant nothing, and it could. And it's
Yeah.
again that dance with the polarities of meaning and also releasing,
Mhm.
like you were saying, letting it go. Because
Mm.
maybe that law of detachment of going,
Mhm.
love this, I want it to mean this, and like
Mhm.
this is meant to be the thing. But then it's like, okay, what if we could just let that go and surrender and see what else opens up? And it's a
Mm.
beautiful dance. And yeah,
Love
I'd
that.
love for you, Michelle, to share a little bit more, I suppose, about that dance, that play, that creativity that
Mhm.
sparked, I suppose, the work that you are doing now. Because, this brilliance piece, that creative flair, that
Mhm.
ability to help people feel that joy in the work that you do. I'd
Mhm.
love for you to share a little bit more about, that source creative energy that you found, that is
Mhm.
now flowing through you.
Yeah, beautiful question as well. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that really what I created is just going back into, what our gifts are and understanding
Mm.
ourselves in a deep way. So I feel like I created something that was really the perfect balance, let's say, between strategy and structure and a system to put people through and the intuitive side. So I have like a Virgo, if people are into astrology, I have a Virgo sun and I have a Pisces moon. So it's like kind of the polar opposites in some ways. And so I've got the intuitive piece and the creative piece that come and the idealism that comes in through a system. And so
Mm.
it's like I'm, gotten into, okay, where can I put in the organizational piece and the flowy piece into both? And it's this like beautiful
Mm.
dance. So I think for each person, they have to uncover, discover, okay, what are the energies that I'm tapping into? What do I have strengths in? And really leaning into those. And
Mm.
um, from that can emerge beautiful insights and creations. And I think most recently it's been a process for me of because the Virgo-ness is very in the control realm, likes to plan and things like that. It's been a lot of learning as to what the surrender piece looks like. And for me, that's come through with dancing. And so I've come to a place where I now can get into of like a trance dance mode, and that to me symbolizes like pure surrender and like as if I'm not in control and I'm letting something come through me, and that's
Mhm.
also training me to understand that that's how we can operate too in our day-to-day lives is like
Mm.
you're in a way allowing yourself to be a channel for the experiences and the things that are they're meant to come through you as opposed to projecting something into what you think it should be like or what you think it should look like. And so that's the next stage of there's different stages, I think, of perception and evolution. And I started out with a pure like, oh, I'm creator God and I can manifest everything. Yes, true. You can, to a certain extent. We have free will, but there was also the lesson of maybe there is more that I don't know. Maybe there are things I don't know that I
Mm.
actually desire. And so maybe I can allow to receive those gifts as opposed to fighting them. So yeah.
Mm. And this is really important information, because for those people that are going through their spiritual awakening, these different levels and these different steps, they they can only come about in ways of our perceived understanding at the point in time that we're at.
Hmm.
So very much like you, I've gone through that sense of, oh, okay, I am God now. I am everything. I can do. Okay, I've got this. I've got it all sorted. Yep, I know what I'm doing now. This is it. This is life. And then it didn't work. And I was like, but I've read
Exactly.
all these books and they said this, and why is it not working? And oh, okay. So there's more. And you learn the next thing and you go, oh, now I understand why I didn't understand that. I've got it. Actually, no, I don't. But this
Yeah.
is that phase of just going, it's okay to not have all the answers and just to take it in those levels as you're coming, because your perception will change, your language will change, your
Mhm.
understanding of words will change. Like, as we said at the beginning, Awæcnian, like that term was spelt exactly how our
Mhm.
academy is spelt. This was the original word. And
Mhm.
even with the AE combined, like that, there has a value and a meaning that was omitted from our current English term of awakening.
Mm.
And it's these different values that have been placed over time, and these interpretations as such. So I love looking at any text and
Mhm.
anything that is in a compact manual form that we can actually physically go find, as that it is an interpretation. So someone's interpretation, and it could be stuff like angel numbers and the meaning
Mhm.
behind 444. There's quite a fair few different variations out there of what that meaning is.
Mhm.
What I've come to understand is that you need to make it yours. What does it mean for you?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is
Mm,
that higher level thinking of taking, okay, I've just read this, I can feel the resonance in it, but for me, it needs to be this because that's what feels true and right.
mm,
And that does not mean that
yeah,
another person's interpretation is incorrect.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
means that for you, you just need to take that little variation. You might
yeah,
only need, to be awakened to be able to fully step into yourself. And you might not
yeah,
need any of the other levels of higher conscious awareness. You might just need to know that you're here to be somebody's happiness, and that's enough.
mm,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then,
I
yeah,
love
so I just
that.
love those levels, because that level and the understanding and the synchronicities are what it's all about. And you
Mhm.
mentioned the rose, and straight away I was like,
Mm,
yes, gift from my grandmother. Thank you very much for mentioning that, because
yeah,
she has been
Yeah.
popping up multiple times for me. And it
Mhm.
is that clarification that, yes, you are on the right path, and yes, I am here supporting you in this. And that
mm,
gets clarified daily for me,
yeah,
just through
yeah,
somebody else mentioning the rose. And
yeah.
I just love that that happens and this
So
beauty
cool.
gets to expand.
Yeah.
That's
It's
cool.
that feedback you said, Michelle, like when we share the stories and like you have those moments where you're like, wow, that was meant for me. And like you talk about it with either, people that are in your network, maybe somebody new you've met, but you know that it's like, oh, wow, this is true for me. This resonates. And it's like that
Mhm.
feedback response and these reflections,
Mhm.
that are really powerful. And I love that, share, Flea, because, as well, you touched on the pieces that we're forever the apprentice, but we're also the master. And it's that discernment. I love the
Mhm.
metaphor of dance as well, where we get to play and grow and sit with it and learn. And it's that evolutionary journey. And it's not about comparing each other as well. It's like maybe
Mm,
that person is here and if we are putting it on something visual to look at, but
Mm,
it's on the scale. It's not about higher or lower. It's just about where you're at in your journey. And
mm,
all three of us have sought mentors and teachers and people because there's a yearning within us to go deeper, to know more. And the people that are meant to be around us are the people that we're meant to find along the way. And others that are on our path and our journey, whether it's our family members or friends or community that maybe aren't at that awareness, that's okay too. And we just love
Mhm.
them where they're at. And
Yeah.
we still show up as ourselves, but also whatever we say and own and embody, maybe it's something within
mhm,
that moment inspires them to go a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's actually quite amazing, and I think people go through their journey at different speeds as well. And so some people that I knew 5, 6, 7 years ago that were really not into spirituality or this realm at all. It's like they're now coming back, contacting me and being like, "Oh, what about this and this and this?" And so it's really exciting and fun to sometimes see that, people can move in at different
Mm,
velocities, right? And they can come back into your life having really evolved and changed. And so it's like giving people also a chance to, yeah, to move in the same direction is helpful too. So yeah,
yeah.
but I think obviously, as you mentioned, we're in an age of Aquarian, and there's something in the earth vibration that is really triggering everybody. And so I'm not surprised that now I just feel like the jargon that I was using a few years ago is everywhere, and people are
mm,
grasping the concepts more and more, which is it's just super, super exciting. So yeah,
mm.
Yeah, I
I'm
love that.
excited for this time period, and yeah, for us all to just collectively um, be together and yeah, let's do this. Let's bring
Yeah,
it.
I love that.
So
I love you said collectively. I was legit thinking like, we've been talking about our experiences in awakening and seeing the trends and the
Mm,
shifts in mass consciousness starting to wake up, and the collective, which is the all energy, the oneness energy, that people are now looking and searching and wanting to find out more of what they're experiencing. So the collective energy now is rising. And so, this is why we have this platform. There is an energetic quickening that I've been also feeling on a collective level that is now like people like us that have experienced this now get to share our stories, now get to show up in our leadership and go, it's okay, you're safe. There are actually amazing, authentic, real people that will hold you in that. And this is why we created the academy and these platforms and spaces where we can share your wisdom, other people's knowledge, and how people are embodying. And so, yeah, Michelle, if people are looking for you, how can they find you?
yeah, so I've got a wealth of free resources on my website, michelleparad.com. You can start by taking my brilliance quiz on there, there's a couple of different archetypes that will hopefully align with your particular design and the role you're meant to be playing. And you can find me also on Instagram and on YouTube. Same thing, Michelle Parad, and it's Michelle with one L. So yeah, excited to
Awesome.
connect with everyone here, and thank you for having me on your platform.
Um, thank
Yes.
thank
you.
you so
And
much.
it's been a pleasure. And Flea, are there any final comments from the cards? We always love to start with the oracle cards and
Yeah.
see anything.
Um, so basically, from here on out, it is triumph and success. That little bit of hope that we're instilling right now with the work that we do. So there are plenty of healers that are out there that are authentic in their connection, and it is in just trusting that you're being guided towards those people for the right reason. And sometimes it may be for the wrong reason, ultimately, that ends up being the right reason, because that's that understanding we know. I know that I have signed up for those courses that don't align to me. And it's like, oh, what do I do with this? But it's that understanding and that awareness of, okay, I needed to know that not
Mhm.
everybody is for me. And that's a
Mhm.
very valuable gift that sometimes we're just not aware of because we're hyped up by the theme or the
Mhm.
idea or the illusion of the marketing and the online world. So that
Mhm.
little bit of hope that's coming through, that inner part of you that just goes, I know there's more. Just
Mhm.
believe in that, because this is what this academy and what we are creating here is, bringing that awareness that anything that is possible cannot be impossible,
Mhm. Mhm.
because that possibility exists. So if you can think it, if you can dream it, if you can say it out loud, that intention is powerful, and it has the potential to become reality when we actually tap in and go inside and believe.
Yeah,
So
I love
powerful.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, impossible. I am possible. Yeah, I
Yeah.
am possible. Yeah, I love that. Oh, beautiful. And if anyone else is listening in and you're like, wow, I want to come to this summit, we still have our speaker applications open till the end of this week. We already have an amazing lineup of about 25 people. So it's amazing to have these people from around the world, these magnificent souls that are joining us. And we're pushing it to the end. So if you want to join us and become one of those leaders that are sharing your gifts and taking that courage and leap of faith, we would love for you to connect with us, and we'll share our link as well on our site for you to apply. But if you're listening in and you're like, I want to come and attend this summit and maybe find out more from Michelle or the other amazing people, we do have details already on our website. And we'll be sharing more in the upcoming weeks of how you can claim your spot and join us and, see all of these amazing people from around the world, from the US, UK, Germany, Brazil, obviously Australia, Canada, there's other countries in Africa. We've got such a wealth of knowledge that are coming in from around the globe, which is phenomenal. And there's more countries and more people. So check out our website and also check us out on Facebook at Awæcnian Academy. And we look forward to connecting with you then. Bye, everybody.
Hi, thank you.
Bye. Thank you.